The music you loved as a teenager will stay with you for the rest of your life. My name is Dr. Sophia Armstrong, and I'm a neuroscientist specializing in how sound shapes the human brain. Most of us think we know what kind of music we like and why it affects us. But what most people don't realize is that every song you've ever heard has literally rewired your brain in ways we're only beginning to understand. In the future, neuroscientists and music therapists will help you harness music's power in ways you never imagined. If you want to heal faster from an injury, if you want to strengthen your memory, if you want to change your mood or even fight disease, we'll be able to prescribe specific musical experiences tailored to your brain's unique architecture. With over 200 million songs available on streaming platforms, finding the right music for your therapeutic goals is becoming a science. Here's something that will change how you think about memory. Everything you experience gets stored in your brain. The reason you can't remember everything isn't because it's gone. It's because you have trouble retrieving it. But music is different. Music is a special stimulus with multiple attributes working together. There's rhythm, melody, harmony, lyrics, the timbre of voices and instruments. Each of these elements gets encoded into your memory separately and together, creating what we call a robust memory system. This is why music memories can survive even when other memories fade. Even if you suffer a traumatic brain injury, even if you develop Alzheimer's disease, those songs from your youth often remain intact, pristine, waiting to be unlocked. In our laboratory, we place people inside MRI brain scanners and ask them to listen to music. We give them no other instructions except to stay still so the imaging works properly. And here's what we discover. The part of their brain that controls finger snapping and foot tapping becomes active even though they're lying completely motionless. It's almost as if they can't help themselves. They're not actually moving, but the motor regions of their brain light up as if they were. Why? Because the tempo and beat of music captures our attention at a fundamental level. There are direct neural pathways connecting your auditory system to the movement centers of your brain. Music doesn't just make you want to move, it activates the very circuits that would make you move. We also find something remarkable about emotion. When people listen to music in the scanner, their emotional centers become intensely active. The same brain regions that light up when you're desperately thirsty and finally get water, or when you see chocolate and get to eat it. The pleasure center of your brain releases dopamine, that powerful neurochemical associated with reward and craving. This is why music can feel addictive. Neurologically, it is. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you listen to sad music, your brain releases a hormone called prolactin. This is the same chemical released between a mother and her infant during nursing. It's a soothing, tranquilizing hormone. This is why sad music can sometimes be more healing than happy music. When you're going through a difficult time, sad music doesn't depress you further. It actually soothes you, it validates your emotional state, it creates a sense of comfort and connection. One phenomenon my laboratory has been trying to understand is where those musical chills come from. That sensation when your hair stands on end on your arms or the back of your neck. We get this response during scary movies. We get it from a transcendent piece of music, but we don't fully understand the mechanism. Here's what we know so far. The auditory system is connected to what we call the reptilian brain, the ancient emotional core of your nervous system. Your auditory system is also connected to movement pathways. The kind of movement you'd need to make in a genuinely dangerous situation, like a predator approaching, would trigger this hair-raising, adrenaline-pumping response. Music seems to activate these same ancient survival circuits, but in a pleasurable rather than frightening way. Pleasure and pain and fear are all connected. Physiologically, they're only different in subtle ways. Music has found a way to tap into these primal responses and transform them into transcendent experiences. My laboratory was the first to demonstrate that when people listen to the same piece of music, even if they're in different locations, their brainwaves literally synchronize. The neural activity becomes synchronized both in timing and in which brain regions are active. We're literally on the same wavelength, and if we're physically in the same room, at a concert for example, not only do our brainwaves synchronize, but we also experience an exchange of oxytocin, the hormone that bonds us together as social beings. This oxytocin response played a crucial role in human prehistory. In ancient times, our ancestors would sing around fires through the night to ward off predators and neighboring hostile tribes. The act of making music together bonded them to one another, created social cohesion, strengthened the group. This is the reason armies have marching songs. It helps soldiers feel more unified, more connected to their unit. Music is fundamentally a social technology. I recently published research on what I call music as medicine, how we can use music not just for entertainment, but to heal ourselves, to prevent illness, to optimize our health. Let me give you some concrete examples. If you listen to music you genuinely enjoy, you can boost your immune system. The act of experiencing pleasurable music increases the production of antibodies and activates immune cells. If you learn to play a musical instrument, you improve eye-hand coordination and build up what we call cognitive reserve in your brain, extraneural connections that put you in a better position to fight off infections and resist disease as you age. And if you're already sick or in pain, music has been demonstrated to act as a natural pain reliever. It helps your body fight infections like colds and flu more effectively. In some cases, listening to the right music can reduce the need for pain medication after surgery. Another powerful example. We've found that people suffering from depression can use music to lift themselves out of depressive episodes, often more effectively than pharmaceuticals or traditional talk therapy. Now, most research begins with observation. Someone tells you a story, you read an anecdote, and you think, maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. Let's test it scientifically. In the case of depression, humans have been using music to treat melancholy for thousands of years. But does it actually work better than other interventions? In collaboration with colleagues at major research universities, we've worked with people who are severely depressed and haven't responded to medication, to talk therapy, or even to transcranial magnetic stimulation, a cutting-edge treatment that uses magnetic fields to stimulate brain regions. We play music for these patients, not just any music, but music carefully selected to match their emotional state. And we find that they recover more quickly from their depression. How might this work? How could music possibly pull someone out of a depressive state? Usually when you're depressed, it's because you feel profoundly misunderstood. Your friends, your family, the entire world seems unable to grasp what you're experiencing. So the last thing you want to hear is cheerful, upbeat music that just confirms that nobody understands you at all. But when you put on the right sad music, something remarkable happens. You recognize yourself in the sounds, in the chord progressions, in the emotional arc of the song. You think, that's exactly how I feel. Often a feeling you couldn't put into words. And suddenly you realize you're not alone. You're not sitting at the edge of the cliff by yourself. There's somebody else there, someone who felt the same way you do. That's comforting. And then you realize something even more powerful. Not only did this artist feel the way you feel, but they somehow got through it, came out the other side, and transformed their pain into this beautiful work of art. That's inspiring. That gives you hope. One study that genuinely surprised me involves multiple sclerosis, a degenerative neurological disease that causes progressive loss of motor control. Researchers found that a therapy involving piano playing was remarkably effective. Patients would learn to play the piano, or if they already knew how, they would continue practicing, using their fingers on the keys in deliberate patterns. This practice helped restore their muscle and motor control. Now you might think, well, if it's just about rhythm and repetitive movement, then typing on a keyboard should work, or moving to a metronome clicking at regular intervals. But music works better. Why? It turns out the key is auditory feedback. Doing something and then hearing the result strengthens neural pathways in unique ways. The combination of motor action and immediate auditory response creates more powerful learning than either element alone. We now know from 3 decades of research that learning to play a musical instrument confers significant benefits to overall brain health. Musicians as a group tend to be healthier than non-musicians. Musicians' brains are structurally different. They're wired differently. Now, it's true that anything you learn changes your brain's wiring. That's what learning is. It's physical changes in neural connections. If you learn juggling, if you learn to cook, if you learn a new language, you're changing your brain. So it might seem like a cheat to say, well, yes, becoming a musician changes the brain. Everything changes the brain. Watching this video changes your brain. Going to sleep and dreaming changes your brain. But what we really want to know is, does music change the brain in special ways, in ways that are uniquely beneficial? And the answer is unequivocally yes. Learning to play an instrument or to sing strengthens the connections between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of your brain. This enhanced connectivity allows you to integrate logical, analytical thinking with exploratory, creative, artistic thinking. It enables superior problem-solving abilities. You can approach challenges from multiple angles simultaneously. Some studies suggest that learning to play an instrument early, during childhood, helps children learn to read at an earlier age and to read more fluently. They process written language more quickly. That's a significant advantage that carries forward through their entire education. We've also observed that children who receive music training exhibit fewer behavioral problems in school. And this isn't because musical children start out with different brains or come from different backgrounds. Controlled studies show it's the music training itself that produces these changes. Music training also gives you something intangible, but incredibly valuable: a sense of mastery. The experience of doing something genuinely difficult, something that requires sustained effort and practice, and actually succeeding at it. Just like training for athletics, learning to run faster, to throw farther, you discover, I can do this. I don't have to be the world's best, but I can accomplish something challenging. That builds confidence and resilience that transfers to other areas of life. I don't know if being a musician has made me a better scientist, but I can say with certainty that it's made me a better human being. It's taught me patience, discipline, the value of incremental progress. It's given me a direct channel to emotions I couldn't access any other way. It's connected me to other people across barriers of language and culture. And that's ultimately what music does. It transforms your brain, yes, physically, measurably, permanently. But more than that, it transforms your experience of being human. It gives you access to dimensions of emotion and connection and meaning that simply don't exist without it. The songs you heard as a child, the music you discovered as a teenager, the soundtracks of your most important moments. They're not just memories, they're part of your neural architecture now. They've shaped who you are at the most fundamental biological level. And here's the beautiful part: it's never too late. Whether you're 20 or 70, whether you've never played an instrument or you're a lifelong musician, every moment you spend with music continues to reshape your brain, to forge new connections, to unlock new possibilities. So the next time you put on a song, remember, you're not just listening. You're literally sculpting the organ that makes you who you are. Want to learn more about the neuroscience of music and discover how to use sound to optimize your brain health? Visit neuroscience.com, where cutting-edge research meets practical application. Explore evidence-based playlists for focus, relaxation, creativity, and healing. Learn which musical elements trigger specific neural responses. Discover how to harness music's power to transform your mind, your mood, and your life. neuroscience.com, because your brain deserves the right soundtrack.